I am honored to welcome the resource person of the day, Dr. Bala Ganesh, who is going to discuss on the topic sampling. Bala Ganesh is a Dean of Faculty Computer Science and Multimedia, Lincoln University College, Malaysia. He is one of the key members of Lincoln University College. He has 19 years of professional teaching experience, which includes overseas experience in India, Oman, and Malaysia. He has in-depth knowledge of information technology and latest wireless fidelity. His familiar research area is malware detection, web mining, and open source technology. He has given training in mobile application, open source ERP, software testing, and MySQL. He has developed software application, timetable automation, online exam, and also published book on computer application and business. He has ability to explain technical concepts and ideas in clear and precise way. He has been actively involved in professional bodies, elected member in Michigan Association for Computer Users and Learning, USA, member in International Association of Engineering, Hong Kong, member in Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, member in Computer Science Teachers Association, Newark. He serves as editor, editorial board member, technical committee member, reviewer of international journal in countries such as Arab, Poland, Europe, and USA. He serves as the international committee member towards international conferences conducted in association with Springer and Scopus. He is one of the editor of Intelligent Computing and Innovation on Data Science, lecture note and network and systems, which is Springer and Scopus Index. He is also an editor of 2 book chapters, Internet of Robotic Things and the Internet of Medical Things. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Though you have come to India for your personal commitment, thank you so much for accepting our official invitation, sir. And thank you so much for being instrumental in signing an MOU with our institution and Lincoln University College, Malaysia. Thank you so much, sir, and over to you.
Good day to all. Is it audible? My voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the management to give this opportunity to us to motivate the students, not only the motivation for the students, during this time period, lecturers and researchers, everybody need the motivation because of last 2 years of pandemic situations. It's really helpful, this kind of tie-up, which is again we will start from which is helpful for, again we can start to process to overseas collaborations, which is make the students to perform well. So really, it's a great initiative. It's taken by Professor Divya ma'am and the Principal ma'am Padmavati madam and the management. Thank you for this opportunity for given to us. So today we need to just that research every week they are conducting the research seminars like that. So this week I'm going to present that sampling, one of the research area, one of the research cycle, one of the important area that is sampling that we are going to cover. Is it okay? The voice and any um, error or it's coming, please inform to us, or else I can continue. Is it? Shall we start now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So let's start that session. The first thing I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start that the today's session. Sampling. Sampling is the one of the milestone in the research. There is a many step-by-step process we need to follow in the research work. Sampling is the one of the work. So today we are going to discuss few things about sampling, but I can't directly start the sampling. Before that, I summarize that what are the other steps involved in the research. Then I will go to why we need sampling. Then what kind of sampling or what are the types of sampling. It's helpful to do the research work that I will explain to you. It's not like explanations, it's just we will going to discuss it. If it is like a discussion, it's really a good session, I think so. So it should be the interaction, it's more beneficial. So after that presentation, if you have any doubts on that, you can ask. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about that research process flowchart. The research process flowchart having that 7 important steps, 7 important milestones. Each steps, each flow, each area, it's important. Each area is equal valuable. Each area, if you have done any mistake, you need to again go back to clear that process, then only you come to the next steps. I'll repeat again, because this during the research time, some of the people what they did, oh, I did some mistake in the data collection. That is the reason my conclusion is not come in the proper way. So why don't you, if you done that mistake in data collection, why don't you clear the thing earlier? No, sir, that one I have done in 2 years before. Again, if I want to do the same work, means how come, sir? If you done such kind of mistake, the whole research, no use. So wherever or which stage you feel something wrong, what the hypothesis you, what the predictions you have, and what that output it's come, something wrong if you feel, you have to clear that process, then you can go to the next process. So it's a feedback process, forward process, and backward process. So all the things should be included in this research process. So the first process is the define the research problem. So that's the thing. As my topic is sampling, but I will complete a few things, a few brief about each area. Then I will come to the sampling. So define the research problem. So what kind of problem you are going to do, or what kind of problem you are do the research, which problem you are going to take. Like for example, some research work, it's look like why the winter season is more sales on that wool cloth. That kind of why that kind of material sales so much during the winter season. Is it really need any research for this? It's not necessary. So which problem you have to choose the right problem, which problem exactly need the research, you want to identify the problem. That's very important. So if you have done a mistake in identifying the problem, if you are not possible to properly identify the problem, then the whole research is totally waste. So that is the first stage. Then the second stage is the literature review. That's very, very important. Sir, I'm doing the research work. You are telling don't copy with others research. Then why you are asking to read that others research work? The purpose, until now, the same area, what they have already done, what they concluded, whether they given a proper solution or not. So from where I'm going to start, all these answer, all these questions, you will get the proper answer when if you go through that literature review. So that's the reason we do that literature review. Then the third stage is the formulate hypothesis. Formulate hypothesis is nothing but what your prediction. So I already identified the problem. I already got a clear idea about what is the current stage of this problem. What is the conclusions they have earlier researchers, those who are done in that particular problem. These are all the things I got a clear idea. So what your predictions. So using my new concept, what will be happen? So that is the things you are going to predict. That is formulating the hypothesis. That is at stage 3. Then the fourth stage. You see, the fourth stage is the middle stage. That's very, very important. All the stages are important. This one is the designing the research. So the designing the research work including what kind of topic it's in mentioned, sample design. That's what we are going to see today. So the samples, okay, I didn't after I got a proper prediction, so I got that clear idea. So and now I'm going to execute. So if I want to execute, I need to collect the data. So what kind of data you want? You want to collect only from the particular group, or you want only from different people, or you want from the different characteristics, or you want from the different nations, different countries. So what kind of data you need to collect? For what purpose I want to do that? So it's the best example is the COVID-19. During that situation, what kind of symptoms? So the symptoms, it vary from a different country, means we need from each country have a different samples. So like that, based on that only, we can give that some solution. So if affected by the COVID, these are all the symptoms you have. So we can give the solution like that in your research work. So you have to collect some data. So you want to collect the data from the whole people, that means whole populations, or else you want to do only a specific sample. How come it's possible that the specific small sample it's equal to the whole population? Sometimes it happen to mistakes. So you have to choose properly whether I want to choose the population or I want to choose the sample. Once this area you have performed well, then collecting data, it's good. Analyze the data, that is the area, the stage 6. Analyze the data. So from that analyze the data, that is it's what kind of test you are going to use, what kind of test you are going to implement, whether it is parametric or non-parametric test, or inferential or descriptive tool, or a qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis. So all these things you can easy to identify in that analysis data. And the final thing is interpretation data is you are submitting the report, which is you can do by graph, tables, and some other presentations tools you can use it. That is the stage 7. So that exact starting stage is identifying or designing the research work, that is samples or population, what you are going to choose. So let's see one by one from the, so these are all the research process. I'm not going to discuss again and again. So these are the things I already mentioned. From stage 1, what we have done, and stage 2, what we have done, stage 3, what we have done, and design work. Yeah. So the design work, it's a blueprint for basic research design and the researchers can use. Like they can do the survey, they can do the experiment, they can do the secondary data. Secondary data means like the data which is already available, the data which is available in open source, the free data. Based on the data you are started to work your experiment. Based on that open source data you are start to do your research work, that is a secondary data. Then the fourth one is an observational study. So you have to observe from that particular time period, like we are inject some disease or virus to that animal and observing what kind of effect it's happened, what kind of symptom it's happened to that particular animal. So that kind of thing is called observational study. So these are all the different kind of designs we are using. So here we are going to see the research process is sampling. So sampling is the small number of items or portions of a universal. So from the class 60 students, from the 60 students, I choose 2 students from that high level mark, 2 students from that low level mark, and 2 students from the average mark. From the 6 students, if I get the feedback, so that is called sample. If I get the feedback from all the 60 students, that is called populations. I think it's very easy to understand. That's the reason I take that kind of examples. So the population is the whole thing, then sample is the small portion from the whole population. So let's see the types of sampling. The samples, the types of samples, we can divide into 2 parts. One is probability sampling and another one is non-probability sampling. Under the probability sampling, some of the samples we are going to see, it's I'm not saying only this is the types of sample. These are also some important types of samples. Its categories, it's under the category of probability samples and non-probability samples. So under the category of probability sample, some of the important types of samples is simple random, stratified random, cluster, systematic. So these are some of the important sample types which is under the category of probability samples. That another category is non-probability. So the non-probability samples under the category is judgment, convenience, accidental, and purposive. So these are all the important samples under the two categories. So samples we can divide into two parts, that is probability and non-probability. So what is the probability and non-probability? Why we can split like this? First of all, why I can do, or what purpose I have to choose only the sample, or what purpose I can choose the whole population. That one you want to clear yourself during the research. Whether my research I want to collecting the data the whole population, or I want to collect the data only from the sample. What I want to do. That one you want to get the clear idea. Second thing, okay, if I choose samples, what kind of samples I'm going to use? Whether I'm going to use the probabilistic sample and the non-probabilistic sample. That is a second. Okay, I'm decided to use the probability sample. Then what type of samples I'm going to use? Stratified or cluster or systematic or simple random. What kind of samples you are going to use? So these are all the things you have to keep in mind when you choose to collecting the data or designing the research framework. Okay, let's start the first thing. Population. So as I said earlier, population is the whole thing. As I said earlier, the whole class having a 60 students. From the 60 students, if I choose a high-level ranking students to low-level ranking students to and middle-level ranking student, average ranking students to. So that 6 students is considered as the sample. The whole class is considered as the population. So that is the definitions I given. So sample is nothing but it's the subset of population. Sample is a small group of members selected from a population to represent the population. So let's see. What is that sampling? So further the samples we can divide into probability and non-probability. Like for example, I want to know the average mark from the particular average mark from the particular subject in the particular class. If such case, is it possible to use a sample? No, cannot, because you want to get your result should be finding the average from the particular subject from the whole class. That time you cannot possible to use samples. You have to do whole population. So the total, average, standard deviation. So such kind of things you can use only from the populations. You cannot possible to use from the samples. So the samples when you are going to use, or population when you are going to use, you have to get a clear idea. How can it possible to get? If you have a good idea about your problem identification, what kind of problem you are trying to finding the solution, if you have a clear idea, then this is very simple, whether I'm going to use the population or I'm going to use the samples. So that is the first stage is over. The second stage is, okay, I'm going to use the sample. Like for example, if I want to know the total average for the particular subject in the particular class, means no other option, you have to use population. The whole population from the whole class having a 60 students, all the 60 students from the subject, how many marks they got it, all the marks, then you can do the average calculations. Suppose the same class, I want to get a feedback from the particular subject teacher. So this one, it's your choice. It's all the 60 students to ask them to write the feedback about the teacher, or else you can choose highly ranking students to, average ranking students to, low ranking students to, ask them only these 6 students the feedback about the teacher. So this is the sampling, instead of doing all the 60 students. So why you do these samples? Because it's sometimes it's based on your convenience. Sometimes it's not possible for all the students to get the feedback. That is the reason I'm doing only for the 6 students. So like that, certain reason, like for example, your COVID symptoms and remedies, if you are trying to get only from your state, it's easier. Trying to get that data from only from your street, it's easier. Try to get that whole world, it's very difficult. When you can complete your research, cannot. So like that, based on convenience, based on some other reasons, based on the time period, all these factors will affect if you choose the particular sample. Okay, so from the sample, how come we can split it probability sampling and non-probability sampling? The probability sampling means if you toss the coin, what is the possibility? How many possibilities? Only 2 possibilities. Each, maybe the coin get head or maybe the coin get tail. How much the possibility for each options? 50% equal possibility. So from the class having a 60 students, the teacher is asking question to any one of the student. Like the teacher is asking, anyone can answer to this question, means that means all the 60 students have the equal permission to answer. The same teacher, if they told those who are getting those who fail in the particular subject, can you answer for this? If the teacher is asking like that, the only possibility the student, those who fail in the subject, only that group of students can answer. Others, there is no chance to answer. So probability means the whole class is getting or possible to answer. That is an example for probability sampling. So the probability sampling is nothing but equal chance, equal choice, equal share to everyone. So the whole population is 100 or whole population is million. There is a possibility the whole 1 million people, from the 1 million people, there is a possibility, or there is an equal possibility to everyone to maybe a sample. That kind of sample is called probability sampling. So the samples which is called the probability sampling is based on the fact that every member of your population has a known and equal chance of being selected. So that is called probability sampling. The next one is non-probability sampling. As I already given that example, it involves non-random selections. It's based on the researcher convenience. Like the teacher is asking question only to the students, those who fail in the subject. Because the teacher needs to know only that people got a clear idea about the subject or not. So that's the reason. So there is a two types of probable sampling categories: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So the non-probability is it involved non-random selection based on the convenience. So the non-probability, when you are going to use the thing which is very convenient to you, based on the time period, based on the thing, based on that other category, based on that other factor, you can choose the non-probability sampling. So that is a two types of categories we are discussed, that is probability and non-probability. Let's see that first, probability sampling. As I said earlier, the probable under the category of probability sampling, one of the important types of sampling is called simple random sampling. It's very simple. From the whole population, you can choose randomly any person. So which every member of the study population has an equal chance of selection. So it's a normal one. It's a basic thing, simple random sampling. So simply you can randomly choose any people. So all these people, all this group of people having an equal chance to get the participate to that research work. So that is called simple random samples. Then next thing, systematic sampling. What is that systematic sampling? Like for example, from the class having a 60 student, from each bench, third person, from the class having a 60 students, each bench having a 5 student. From the first bench, I choose the third student. Next bench, again, I choose the third student. Third bench, again, I choose the third student. So randomly, I am choosing the first bench. What's the number? The same number I will continue for each benches. So that is a kind of sampling is called systematic sampling. That means the first element which you selected, it's randomly one number. Maybe you can choose 8, maybe you can choose 7, maybe you can choose third, maybe you can choose 5th. The next is 10, the next is 15, the next is 20, the next one is 25, 30, 35. So all the 5th number of persons you are choosing. So that kind of sample is called systematic sampling. So that is the definition I given here. The first element is selected randomly from a list or from the sequential file. You can choose from the sequential file, or you can choose from the whole population, every nth element you can select. So first, if you choose 7, the next you can choose 14. Next you can choose 21. Next you can choose 28. So the same nth element you are select from the group, that is called probable systematic sampling. So that's one of the important sampling method which is under the category of probability sampling. Next one is stratified sampling. Stratified sampling, it's almost like same thing like the earlier one, systematic sampling, but the difference here is you can make it a group. As I said, from the class having a high ranking students, average ranking students, low ranking students. First, you make it a group. From the group, each group you can choose one person. Like 17 high ranking students, 40 not 40 30 low ranking students, and remaining is the average ranking students. So these are the 3 kind of groups. From the 3 kind of group, each group you can choose one person and make it a separate group. Then you can start to do your experiment. Then you can start to do the research work only from the particular group which you choose from different group randomly. That is called stratified sampling. So the definition which I given is probability sampling procedure that involve dividing the population in groups or strata, same thing. So population in your group defined by the presence of certain characteristics and then random sampling from each group. So that is called I think we wait a few more minutes, then we can start. Yeah, thank you. Shall I start? Just now I got an.
So yeah, actually, the second shift is getting started. So prayer was there.
Yes, yes.
Now, sir.
Okay. Shall I start now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for that present. So yeah, let's we start that stratified sampling, and the next one is uh, yeah cluster sampling. So compared to that stratified sampling, how the cluster sampling is differ. So here, first we make it that three groups based on the characteristic like high level students, low level students, average level students. From each group, you are choosing one student. That is called stratified sample. Cluster sample means based on the characteristic, you can make it four or five groups. From the seven group, I will choose the whole group randomly. Maybe I will choose only the students, those who are getting high rank. Maybe I will choose only the students, those who are getting low level rank or average. So whatever the groups are available, from the groups, I will choose any one of the specific group. Randomly, I will choose any one of the group that is called cluster sampling. So that is a types of probability sampling, which is help you use in your research based on your research work, which it's easier, not easier, which exactly need for your research. Let's see that non-probability sampling. As I said earlier, it's based on the researcher's convenience. The whole population is not having the equal chance to participate, which is very convenient to me. I choose kind of uh, that kind of samples. For example, I want to know the feedback from the people about that petrol rate. So what you have to do? The whole India, you want to collect the data, or just nearby your street, how many petrol bunks there nearby in your house, minimum 5 to 10 kilometers surrounding, or 25 kilometers surrounding, how many petrol bunk is there. Only that petrol bunk, if you go and collect the data from the people, which you choose, you will choose that this is the way, instead of the whole India to collecting the data. So why you choose that kind of method? It's because it's more convenient to you. Some of the other reason is accident available near to you. Then you can access the data from only from that kind of people. So that is called non-probability sampling. So that is one of the method is convenience sampling. So which is easier to you, you can choose that kind of sample. The next one is snowball sampling. So convenience sampling, I already told. Snowball sampling means randomly, which is available, which is very comfort to me. That kind of collections is snowball sampling. Snowball means normally what you can do. The ball, you can throw it. Whatever the stick is hit, that stick, you got a goal, isn't it? So like that, they select the sample and ask them to refer them to also known as network sampling. So one person, based on that person, you can get that other person. Based on that person, again, you can get that other person. So this kind of thing is called snowball sampling. Another sampling is based on quota sampling. That is from our case, only the senior citizens, we are having some construction in the train ticket and somewhere, and only these kind of people getting some benefit. or the quotas like BC, MBC, SC, ST quotas like that. So that is called quota based samplings. So that kind of sampling also, it's a non-probability sampling, because it's not possible. There is no chance to, there is no equal chance to every people. So that kind of sample is called non-probability sampling. Then judgmental sampling. So you are a researcher, you already predict something. So only these kind of people will given a clear answer for your research work. Only these kind of people can give the proper solution for this particular problem. So you have an idea, you have a skill to identify such kind of people. As a researcher, you have take a decision to choose that kind of people to get the data. That kind of sampling is called judgmental sampling. So selecting samples based on his or her own judgment, that is called judgmental sampling. Okay, so after do these samples, we can do the collecting data. So from the sample, why we need to do the sample? The samples we have to do based on the samples, what kind of samples we are using. Based on that, we are collecting the data. So the data collection is based on the time, based on your objective, and it's involved in the money. So based on the money is the and personal issues. So these are all the thing is involved to collecting the data to the samples. These are all the things. These are all the factors is get affected much. So that is study, research design, availability, money, and personals. And key informant interview. The key informant interview, what is that means? Some of the skilled people, it's very near to you. You know well that skilled person, those who are working in the same research area, then you can get a clear idea from that person. So that is a key information factors. So these are all the factor is get involved much to getting the data from the samples or from the population. So if you choose the probability or non-probability, so that is involved. These are the important factors. Okay, so I will stop it here. The next thing is processing the analysis of data. That one is the next stage. So I stop it here. So that's all from my topic today. So I hope I will cover the topics. Yeah, hope I covered the topics. So that's all from today's session. Is it okay? So if you have any doubt, you can ask it now. I think I covered the samples area, the whole thing. Is it okay? Shall I stop it now? I will stop the screen. So if you have any doubt, you can ask it.
If there is no query, Priya, you can formally propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to propose the vote of thanks for today's session. I would like to thank the Almighty for making today's session a success. I extend my gratitude to our speaker, Mr. Balaganesh Redaswamy, for taking the time to be part of the FDP series on journal writing and for sharing his knowledge and insights. I thank all the participants who have taken the time out to attend today's session. A big thank you to our secretary and our associate secretary for their constant guidance and support. My special thanks to our principal and vice principal for giving us the encouragement we always need. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Dr. S.T. Deepa, our technical team, and our internal training team for all the support and coordination. Once again, I thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir, for your excellent session. The feedback form is posted in the chat box. The participants can fill up the feedback form to get your e-certificate.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you for giving this kind of great opportunities. So we will continue this kind of motivating in the research area. It's really helpful to all the, not only the students and also the professors, teachers, and everyone. So thank you all. Thank you for the great support. Thank you.